Hi everybody, my name is Shannon. Welcome to my channel, Another Yarn. Thank you so much for joining me today. I greatly appreciate it. We made it through another week. It is another Monday. And what I like to do on Mondays is go over the things that I got a chance to work on the prior week. And it's a lot of little tiny things this week. It really is. I did a lot of samples and playing with stitches because I had the honor and the blessing to be able to go to a knitting retreat by Galena Kavmelva. Sorry, Russian names, not exactly something I'm really good at. She has written these books. Let's see, what is this one? Okay, Gossamer, there we go. The Gossamer Web Design Collection. Had to get that ring light so you could see, or at least see what the pattern is, what the book is. And Gossamer Webs, The History and Techniques of Orenburg Lace Shawls. And she's written other things. She's got other patterns out that are in like Knitting Traditions magazine. She's got patterns in Pieceworks magazines, and Interweave posted or had a bunch of her things too. So you can do some searches on her name and find different things. So I had the honor of going to a knitting retreat, and that was through the week, through the actual part of the week and everything. And so I did a lot of lace pieces with that and really quite thrilled. They're not huge, right? But it takes some time. And when you're in a class with a master, I mean, it's gonna take a little bit of time. And oh, it was so amazing. So I'll show those pieces again. I know I did a video previously on those because why wouldn't I? It was such a fun time. I highly recommend that if you are interested in learning something like that from a true living legend and a master in their craft and their art, if you are anywhere around and Galena is teaching and you have the opportunity to join in, highly recommend doing so. At this retreat, that was her 75th birthday. So, you know, that makes a difference. I know she's done quite a few of the craft cruises. I don't know if she's going to continue doing those, but I've never been on one. But some of the ladies that were at the retreat definitely have. You know, they would go to Alaska and the Baltics and just all the different places that they talked about on craft cruises. And if you're interested in doing cruises, look that up. Just look up craft cruises and, you know, if you're a crafter, and see what they have available. I did not know that was a thing. So maybe later on in the retirement years, we might actually do a cruise. I don't know. So you've got that. I know that in June, she was at the Estes Park Wool Festival, and she did teach. She had a few different classes that she was teaching then. That was June of 2025. I don't know if she's going to be at the next ones. I know when I did a little cyber stalking, I'm not going to lie. But when I was looking and trying to figure out and just doing some searches, by the way, you have to go past the first, second, third page. I went down to like 10, 15, okay, 20, 25, whatever. And I found her schedule and all the different locations that she was registered to be at in the year. And obviously being in Colorado, the Estes Park was definitely closest for me. But she had some Pennsylvania things. She had a bunch of other things. So if you have that ability, it was amazing. It's just such an honor to be with somebody that is so proficient and so skilled in their craft and be able to teach and to learn and pick up. And you know, that's true on any craft, anything you do, whether it's painting or woodwork, or it really doesn't matter. If you're with the master at their craft, it's just inspiring. It is so absolutely inspiring. So I definitely did that. I'm going to show you the one thing that I got finished this week, which I was really happy with. And this is from the Textured Heirloom Baby Crochet, I think I'm saying that wrong, book. I'll link it down below if I remember. And I've made things from this before. I got this one done for, I think this is for my 3-year-old granddaughter, and this is the Jasmine sweater. Oh my gosh, it's so cute. This is so adorable. And I finished this up, and I used, look how pretty, look at the colors. Look how that just works up. And I used some of my Hobby Lobby yarn, which I was really happy with, because I've commented more often that Hobby Lobby and Premier, nice yarns. Okay, I am not criticizing yarn, so please don't take it as that. Nice yarns, but they're not in my stash. I've got a good stash of yarn. I've got a lot of yarn. They're not generally my go-tos. Well, for one, I had this huge box that was sitting right here. I've moved it. It's not there anymore. I had this huge box. It was all Premier yarns, and then I had things stacked on it. You know, I was using it as a table. Well, you can't get into the box of yarns if it's still in the box and use them if you're using it as a table. So that's one thing. So I pulled those out, and I had more than one box of Premier yarn still in the box. I mean, well, you can't use it if it's still in the box and you don't see it. So I got those out and everything. So I'm going to rectify that situation. And with the Hobby Lobby yarns, those were also tucked behind. They were actually like tucked behind this cube right here. You know, they were in the second row because these hold like 2 rows. These things hold so much yarn. Oh my gosh, so much yarn each cube. So I wasn't using it. This particular pattern book, it says everything's DK. It's not. To include the socks, it says DK, whatever. But a little bit of a typo. But this is, or at least I've used DK on it. You can use any yarn you want. It's just going to be bigger or smaller. That makes sense. And I like the nice colors with this. This particular yarn I got in the Hobby Lobby Die Lot sale. Hobby Lobby, I know, informational. This is going to be the public service announcement about yarn, right? So on the Hobby Lobby's annual sales, they do have annual sales, and they clearance out the sales that the yarns that they're not going to carry anymore. I am not going to lie. Before Hobby Lobby went strictly Hobby Lobby yarns, they had some Premier yarns, they had Red Heart yarns, they had like Roll With Me tweed. They had a nice selection. In Nordica, they had a really nice selection. It wasn't just the Hobby Lobby. The Cozy Toes as a Hobby Lobby yarn, oh, one of my favorites. But they had a bunch of different yarns. And when they decided that they weren't going to carry that color, they might have the line still, but maybe they don't want that color anymore. They marked them at 75% off. Amazing. So a couple years ago when I first noticed that they were doing that, I didn't know that the whole time. I don't know how long they've been doing it. But when I first noticed, I am not going to lie, I filled up like a shopping cart full of yarn, and then I quickly had to figure out what am I going to do with them, and I squished them as small as I possibly could, and I put them in cubbies and everything in here. And that was even in the last house. That was actually the last time I did that was before we moved into this house. We've been in this house for 3.5 years, but that was before then. So I just buried them and I squished them and I kind of, you know, tucked them in my cubbies and stuff like that, and they didn't see the light of day. I collected them, but they weren't seen. So they're not getting used. So Hobby Lobby and Premier are not getting used. So it's nice to pull. And again, they're nice yarns. They're nice yarns. So it was good for me to grab this, and I used 2 skeins and just a little bit into the 3rd skein. I mean, just a little bit. And had I not made this so much longer than the pattern because I wanted to, right? I mean, if patterns are there as just a suggestion and a guidance, I could have easily gotten this with just the 2 skeins. Will this fit my granddaughter? I don't know. I'm hoping, right? But I don't even remember what size I made. It doesn't matter because did I check gauge? Nope. I just started doing it. I've already said I cast on, but then again, I pretty much say cast on for everything, meaning starting a new project, and this is definitely crochet. So I used a size H hook with a DK weight yarn, and look at that. I like the little sleeves, the front post, back post to do the ribbing, and then I finished it off with the reverse single crochet, the crab stitch, however you term that, but I finished that off on the neckline and on the cuffs, and I just think that makes it look so much nicer. Just an opinion, and it just gives that finished off look. And you know what? All my ends are woven in. This is done. This is ready to gift, and I think that the next time I see them, I'm going to gift it to her. I'm not going to hold it. I'm not going to whatever. Besides, you know, I don't know how long she'll be able to wear it. I don't know if this is her size now, her size next week, or her size last week. You know, babies grow. Yes, yes, they do. So I had that. Totally thrilled with something finished. Ooh. And then for those that were not able to see the lace thing, I had so much fun. So this right here in the red, look at this tiny little piece. This right here is, I just started this, and I thought I was using a size 1, like a 2 1/4. This is a 2.75 millimeter knitting needle. And Galena is hilarious. She comes over and she goes like this. And she's like, that's the mother-in-law test. The mother-in-laws would do that to the daughter-in-law. That's too big. That's too loose. Fishing net. Go start again. So now I can pull this out because I had the opportunity to show this on the specialized, you know, this is what I got done for the week. And then now I'm going to go ahead and I will rip that out and use that lace bobbin for something else. Another piece, another practice, another something along that line. And that'll be fun. That lace goes so far. You can have a small little thing of lace and you know, just look what I made. Look what I made. Look how many hours it took me. And you're like, really? Can I have magnifying glass? It's just the nature of lace. But it's magnificent. It is so absolutely stunning. And some of the ladies, because, you know, we exchange phone numbers, what they suggested is I graft my pieces together, sew it, staple it, sew, staple, glue, tape, whatever, but do kind of like a sampler. Yeah, there's gonna be holes in it, some intentional, some not, but do that with it and keep all of my little sample pieces that I've worked on, and kind of like a freeform crochet piece, you know, with freeform knitting, just sew them together, whip stitch them together, make it work. And I like that idea. I think I'm going to do that, you know, especially if I'm not pulling them out. Now that one's, I didn't get far enough. I'll pull that out. But on these other ones, I think I'm going to do that. So here's where I was working on borders. This is 2 separate borders. I did 4 repeats of it each. Look at that. Like, here we go. There. There. So I did the 2 repeats of that. So that's 4 right here. And you can see that's the little flower right there. Isn't that cool? There. So I got that 4 times. And then, because that was the homework, is to do 4 repeats of 2 different laces. And that one's, I like that one. That is so pretty. And what she wanted to do is pick out 2 of them that you enjoy and try that. Get comfortable with doing that border. That's why you're doing it 4 times. Get comfortable with doing that. And what she was teaching us next was how to do that 1 repeat in a short row fashion, so you could put that at the end of the point of a triangular shawl. So right here at that bottom, you know, because if you're just taking a straight edge on it, it's not going to fit right. It's gonna be like a cup or something, you know, it's not going to look right. So you're doing that short row to give yourself a little bit more ruffle, a little bit more of a flutter, to where it can turn that sharp edge of your triangular piece. So I thought that was absolutely brilliant. I've done short rows. I've done short rows in bust darts. I've done short rows in socks. I've done short rows in shawls. I've not, and I guess shawls is lace too, right? So I did do it in that aspect. Yeah, I've done some Stephen West shawls. I'm just telling you, the man is a genius. So I've done some of his. I've definitely done short rows with some of his shawls too. But it just didn't dawn on me to do short rows in something like this. And that is exciting to be able to do that. So I got to learn some really interesting skills. Now it's time to put them to the test. Woo, that's a story right there. And then here is, okay, let me untangle my stuff. Another piece, this right here, working on some of the stitches. This is Mongolian cashmere. So that was the other thing with the class that we were in. She's like, oh yeah, here, have a bobbin of this yarn. Well, this one wasn't a bobbin. She gave the whole cake. She gave all of us that were, and like I said, this was her 75th birthday. Amazing. Oh my gosh. I was so blessed to be there. And she gave each one of us one of these. And this is enough to make a nice triangular shawl project. Not one that, you know, covers the whole bed kind of a thing, but this will make a good size with the lace. And I think that's beautiful. And it's wonderful to be able to play with such luxurious yarns and to work with that. And this was the same stitch, but constructed a little differently. And it was done that way to give us as the students an idea of 2 different ways that you can do something, and which do you like better? What one feels better? Which one comes naturally to you? Which one do you think looks better? And all those things make a difference. And isn't that what we do with both our crochet and our knitting, as we take different stitches and we find what we like, what we don't like, what we want to work with, what we don't want to work with? I hear a lot of people talk about how they like double crochet and others hate it. That's not their favorite stitch, or half double crochet is their favorite. I don't know why. It just is. It's the same kind of thing with the knitting. Which one do you like? Which one you don't? Some of them are more rhythmic and they land better up here and they're easier to execute, and kind of a little bit more mindless. Laces. I'm not at the mindless stage. I'm not at the mindless. I'll put it that way. I can make some holes. They might not be the right ones, but I can make some holes. I thought that was a lot of fun. And then the piece that I've been working on the most, and I do have some mistakes in it. And, you know, I don't like that. I don't like that at all, but I'm going to keep them. I definitely don't like the mistakes. I don't. But this is, and this is a lot of hours. I don't know how many hours, a lot more hours than it should be. But this right here is my piece that I am working on. And we can see this shape, this almost circular right here. And then we've got the lines like an open diamond, just the smaller holes right here, and then the edges. And then it'll go back up to the same thing if I want it to, and make this more of a rectangular shape. But you can see, yeah, if you look, you can actually see right through here. I do have, yeah, when I move it, can you see how it looks like that little flower? That's not how that's supposed to be. Those are supposed to be a straight, perfect straight line of holes, just like on the other side. See on that side, let me put it against something darker. There, darker, something darker. But on this side, we've got just the straight holes, no deviation. So I did notice it, yeah, obviously quite a few inches after I did that. And this is only 56 stitches. This is 56 stitches wide. And I can only imagine doing the same thing on a very large shawl and then finding that out, because it's noticeable. It just is. And I know with the people that I'm with, class and everything, and I shared the picture, and they're like, just leave it, you know, that is fine. It's no big deal. And for my sample piece, they're right. For if I were to make something like this and decide I would like to gift a piece and give it to Galena, no, I would not leave that there. Not at all. So it just depends on who it's for and what, but here we go. We can really see how I got off right there. And it just, you know, it doesn't look horrible, but it's not even. And when everything is just symmetrical and all the holes are in the right place, your eyes see that. And when something's off kilter, you notice it pretty quick. And that's where that is. So I'm kind of, I got that little struggle on leave it or don't leave it, but I think because it is my sampler piece, I think I need to leave it. I need to just continue on, make it as far as I want to make it. Maybe graft this pink onto the bottom. Why not? I love that idea. And make my own Frankenstein sampler knitted piece. And I think, to me, that sounds beautiful. That sounds lovely. I have some other pieces that I had practiced with before, just like little strips, just like that pink one. Tiny, tiny little things. And I like the idea of taking all of these little samples and stitching them together. Bind them off, stitch them together, have this free form, whatever. And isn't that what a sampler is to show you, here's the stitches, so you can go back and you can recreate it. You know, and I like that idea. I do. So that is my first thing. And I like all of this. I think I did really good. That looks really nice right there. It looks pretty good. So I've got that on that side because I just flipped it over. But you can see over here, it's straight the way it's supposed to be. And that is, unfortunately, to me, I see it. Oh my gosh, I see it. But it's all right. You know, we all learn and we make mistakes. And it's how you deal with it. Like I said, if I were to make this piece and decide I wanted to give this to Galena, I would make sure that to the best of my ability, it would not have any mistakes in it at all. Because I would want to, just like a kindergartner, I want my gold star and I want her to pat me on the head and say I did a good job, okay? I admit it. If that's wrong, I'm sorry. I am just wrong. But for something else, if I were to make this into a very long piece and decide I want to wear this as my own scarf for me, maybe it wouldn't be so bad. Maybe it would because of where it's located, because if it's a long scarf, it's going to be right there at the end, you know, and truthfully, most people wouldn't notice that. They just wouldn't, not when you see the whole piece and you've got it on and, you know, and if they are, you just say, well, you're not my friend, go away. But it's terrible. Oh my gosh, that is so terrible. So that's what I got done this week, was primarily on the lace pieces. And I'm excited. It's beautiful. I'm absolutely thrilled. And then I have been playing with my other stuff and looking at her patterns, because I have a bunch of her patterns, and I have my scrolls, and I have, I've shown this before. This is my my pattern for my purple piece, right? You know, that's my pattern for that. And talk about wow on the eyes. So I have to be okay with that, pull up the chart and work through all of that. And that's what all of this is. It's not hard. It's well-placed holes in your knitting. That's it. That is literally it. It is, you are knitting because there's no purling. There's no purling. So if you don't like to purl stitch, this is the lace for you. It is, because there are other laces that have a right face and a right side and a wrong side. So the right side is generally your stockinette side and the wrong side is your purl side. So you will do all your pattern. A lot of laces will have just knitting on one row, and that is your right side row. And then they'll have a relief row, a lazy row, a relaxed row, and that's just all of the purling. You know, you purl the back row. True lace, knitted lace, is when you have patterning on both sides. You don't have that relief row, but we generally call something with intentional holes lace. So if you don't like to purl and you want to play, Orenburg is definitely your lace. It's 100% your lace. And again, it's not hard. It's just where you put the holes. I put the holes in the wrong spot. There you go. That's it. That's literally it. It's not, oh, it's something magical. It's really not. Attention to detail. Okay. And you're going to make some mistakes. That's how that works. And you grow. Hubby was so proud of me. I think that's why I really like this piece. He's like, oh, honey, I can see your improvement. Yeah. He gave me the kindergarten pat on the head. I appreciate it. I work well with those things. I do. Yeah. As a grown adult, maybe I shouldn't admit to that so freely and so easily, but it's true. I really do. And yeah, he's like, I can really see your improvement. You're doing a lot better. That looks really nice. And it does make me proud with that I've gotten to that level. And like I said, I still kindergarten, and I'm okay with that. I'm all right, you know, and if I keep practicing, I'll graduate to first grade and you know, maybe less mistakes or maybe bigger mistakes, because if you don't go out on a limb and you don't really go for it, you know, you're not gonna make those mistakes. So maybe I'll just graduate to bigger mistakes, something colossal and epic. It could happen. It could happen. I don't know. So that's where I'm at. Those are the things that I got accomplished this week, and I could not be happier. It is absolutely amazing. With that, I'm going to go ahead and let you guys go. You guys have a great day, night, evening, whatever it happens to be. And I will talk to you again later. Bye-bye.